Okay, I would say the story is about a person that finds a stone, it kicks the stone, it hurts their foot, and the stone, I don't know.
No, you're doing well actually, it was correct, no?
I would say the writer is observing their past life in the form of a stone, and they're fighting with the past, and
it's a kind of a monologue of the person that he sees himself in the stone, the same person. He's the kicker, he's the stone, he's the moving and he's the still element in the poem. He's the in and the out, he's the two contrasts. He's the Korean pink and the other one, what's called? You know, the contrast with all the, what do you call it, with the irregularities.
There's a stone on the ground and it has not moved in a while. You can tell it that it hasn't been moved. It's just sitting there and it stops you from moving. You give it a kick, you try to see if it rolls, but it hurts you and somehow you start transforming more and more into that stone because you are also petrified and stuck and unable to move, waiting for someone to kick you into a roll. So it's sort of like this continuous cycle of abuse. Not abuse, but of hurt.
I observe a stone that petrifies me. It used to be a human that talked more than he could not walk. It weighs on the ground to soften back to mortal. I kick it. It hurts me back no less. I grudge my usual stony intentions that serve me no moral use. I am the one who never learns to be mistreated gratis. My foot starts to feel like it is someone else's. It dehumanizes faster than the green of spring. No one tries to cripple it as long as they breathe. The sun shines unjudgingly on my past human life. My heart of stone cries for the immobilized reason. I miss a foot to kick me so that I can roll at least.
Quite interesting but scary at the same time. It's quite heavy.
This is about someone or something who's longing for any kind of connection, even if it's a hurtful connection.
It talks about like a deep pain inside a human.
the struggle, the internal struggle.
Sadness involved, or longing for something, or searching for something, looking at one's past and trying to reconcile some things about one's past, or past mistakes or regrets.
Things that hurt us, often the things that make us feel alive and move forward in our lives.
I observe a stone that petrifies me. It used to be a human that talked more than he could not walk. It waits on the ground to soften back to mortal. I kick it. It hurts me back no less. I grudge my usual stony intentions that serve me no moral use. I am the one who never learns to be mistreated gratis. My foot starts to feel like it is someone else's. It dehumanizes faster than the green of spring. No one tries to cripple it as long as they breathe. The sun shines unjudgingly on my past human life. My heart of stone cries for the immobilized reason. I miss a foot to kick me so that I can roll at least.
The title, Stone, petrifies. Human, walk, waits. Soften, mortal. Kick, grudge. Unjudgingly, mistreated. Moral, intentions. Life, heart, cries. Immobilized. Kick, roll.
It used to be a human that talked more than he could not walk. It's almost confusing. You have to reread it a couple times. But I think it says a lot. For one, it to me confirms that he's talking about a stone monument, like almost a statue of a person, because it says, I observed a human that talked more than he could not walk. And the sentence that precludes that says he observes a stone. So he's observing a stone human. And I just, I like it because it really challenged my thinking on it.
I kick it, it hurts me back no less. He is hurting something else, and in that moment he might realize that something else is hurting him back. So maybe he's even thinking about the fact that a stone could have a feeling, or something non-alive could have a feeling.
You try to kick the pain away, but still it kicks you back. The pain, sometimes when we have certain pain inside of us, we really can't really kick it out of our system because it hurts to face it.
I kick it, it hurts me back no less. This idea of like lashing out, but that in lashing out, one also hurts oneself. So it's not just about hurting the other. And then that's mirrored in this last line when it's written, I miss a foot to kick me so that I can roll at least. And there's a sense that we often avoid pain, but in this sense, like a foot to kick you is something that hurts, but at the same time as hurting, means that one can move forward, or one feels movement, or one feels alive in some sense.
The man kind of wants to feel like the stone in a way, because I mean the last sentence saying, I miss a foot to kick me, like maybe while he's kicking the stone, because I imagine the story to be a man just walking and kicking a stone and then thinking about it, like how would the stone feel? Of course the stone can't feel because it's an object.
I am a stone, I need to be mobilized, and without this kick that might hurt me and hurt the kicker, I wouldn't be moving.
A strong feeling of helplessness, so they need an outsider act to make them move.
My heart of stone cries. I know it seems like you have a heart, but it's like of stone, and so you don't really feel something, but you still can feel the sadness.
My foot starts to feel like it is someone else's. It dehumanizes faster than the green of spring. Feel like you are somebody else sometimes. You don't really belong, or you don't have the sense of belonging.
No one tries to cripple it as long as they breathe. That respect that someone has for the stone, of you won't actively hurt it. I feel that sort of understanding that humans as a group choose not to hurt something when it's going through a lot of suffering.
The sun shines unjudgingly on my past human life. I think that's a very liberating sentence. I think the sun is a very powerful force and one that I relate to very strongly. Unjudgingly is a really nice way to think about something. No judgment on your past life. I observe a stone that petrifies me. It used to be a human that talked more than he could not walk. It waits on the ground to soften back to mortal. I kick it, it hurts me back no less. I grudge my usual stony intentions that serve me no moral use. I am the one who never learns to be mistreated gratis. My foot starts to feel like it is someone else's. It dehumanizes faster than the green of spring. No one tries to cripple it as long as they breathe. My sun shines unjudgingly on my past human life. My heart of stone cries for the immobilized reason. I miss a foot to kick me so that I can roll at least.
Of like a movie with an anti-hero, or maybe something like Taxi Driver, like Travis Bickle, something he would read in his taxi at night.
It makes me kind of visualize a mossy field with a stone in it and someone in a forest trying to deal with this stone. I don't know where this place is, but it's a very visual poem, so I feel like the visual language that you're using really kind of brings up a lot of imaginative places in my mind.
It reminds me of myself, of the humans. We are all the one and the collection.
I really liked the idea of stone and heaviness.
I think it's definitely not simple. I think someone who's learning English or someone who isn't very familiar with English would look at this and think of it as a very complex emotion, but it's a very simple emotion that's being described with complexity. So I think there's sort of like, there's multiple syllables being used, and when you read it, it's a lot of sounds and very few words being used to describe something big.
The sentence, it waits on the ground to soften back to mortal, is a nice use of the word waits, as in wait, the weight of something, and time, waiting.
The poem used the word wait. It's like, seems like a little bit like waiting, so like takes times but also weighs like a stone, so it's like heavier. In German it's called Enjambment, but I don't know the English word of it. So it's like when a strophe isn't, like a sentence isn't finished in one strophe, it goes to another.
I'm a huge fan of metaphors, and this one is like pretty metaphorical and symbolic. Uses of the words like crippling or immobilizing. This for me like portrays the feeling of helplessness and weakness.
It makes sense, especially now because I've spent so many weeks not doing anything because of the pandemic, that you feel like you're turning to stone and you don't feel like anything can happen. You need someone else to come and give you that kick to put life back into you. So I relate to this. I also know that if I saw a stone, I saw a person just not doing anything, I'd walk away. I wouldn't be able to kick it. I think from this you're definitely hurt. You're coming from a point of view of someone who's stuck in a rut. So this is definitely not one of your happiest moments or one of your most joyous moments when you're thinking about life and meaning. But I think it's definitely more relatable than if you were happier. I don't think a lot of people relate to happiness anymore.
Yeah, I do think sometimes I feel like a stone in my life. I think there's parts of humans that are kind of, not alive. Sometimes you feel like you can't really do anything about what's happening in your life. So maybe someone else is the reason why you can't move or you can't do certain things. You don't have that freedom, and then you feel like a stone because you don't feel very alive.
I felt like a stone before. I don't think it's related to a specific place, but I think it's related to some circumstances. Or it was before I learned to express myself more. I felt like I was just like a stone. Everything around me was moving and acting and reacting, but I was more of a stone, just observing.
I actually feel both. I do feel like people sometimes can be like stones without no feelings, without no empathy. And at the same time, sometimes you don't feel like sense of belonging anywhere, so you kind of feel like a stone in this place and you feel like an object.
And it also breaks my heart a little because I don't consider myself a petrified stone. I shouldn't.
I think I would say that I feel more like a stone in that I feel more heavy and weighted. And I'm sure people have tried to kick at me as a stone and like get me to move or to lash out in some way. Partly I think that's what we're all doing in life, right? Like we all want to bring people into our own story, and stones sometimes are too heavy to bring onto that journey, and that in itself is painful.
No, I don't think I feel like a stone. I feel very light. I'm a very light person. I don't feel weighted, I don't feel held in one place.
The moral lesson is to enjoy the freedom of movement that we have in the current life we live.
From the first glance, I wouldn't say so, but the more I look at it, the more I see the resemblance, like the grayness and the stiffness of the posture can portray being as a stone.